Hi guys, it's John from the Landlord Protection Agency, and thanks for tuning in. Today I'd like to talk with you about the approval process of your new tenants. As you know, I'm John from the Landlord Protection Agency. I've been a landlord for many, many years. We founded the Landlord Protection Agency in the year 1999, and I got into the business in 1979, so I've got a lot of years behind me of being a real estate broker, landlord, real estate investor, and a property manager. And I've learned so many lessons the hard way, and I hope you guys don't have to learn them all the hard way the way I did, and so many other people I know went through difficult lessons. And it all comes down to good quality tenant screening. If you want to get a good tenant, you just need a few things. You need a good quality property to offer to attract a good quality tenant, and you need to know how to screen them properly. If you know how to screen someone properly for your rental, then most of the battle is already won, because you'll know how to make good matches and only accept the good tenants. And that's what you want to do. Only good ones. Remember, I always say, better no tenant than a bad tenant. And it is so true. I would much rather have a vacant property with no rent coming in than an occupied property with a bad tenant that I don't want in the property. You know what I'm talking about. If you've been through this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you haven't been through it yet, trust me. A vacant property not causing you any trouble and stress about not getting it rented maybe, but it's a heck of a lot more stressful when you have a bad tenant in your property. Believe me, trust me. All right, now, the approval process. What I like to do when I'm approving a tenant is I call them to give them the good news, and I let so-and-so know, congratulations, and I like to congratulate them about how well they did and that the company has approved them for the rental of our property, and that there was a lot of competition, because there usually is, and that they came in first place. This is the opportunity for you to instruct your tenants to come prepared to your lease signing. It's so valuable and so important to realize this as the landlord. Don't just set an appointment or whenever it's good for them and just go and say, meet me then. No, you want to instruct them with exactly what to bring, okay? And set an appointment for when you want to meet them in a good setting. And at that point, they're usually very happy. They're thanking you. They might have been worried about whether they're going to be approved or not. And we set the time and place of the lease signing. You don't want to wait too long for the lease signing to occur. So you want to try to set it up as soon as possible. Don't give people a chance to go out looking at other places or think too much. Just give them the instructions to set up the lease signing. So we usually like to get that lease signing done within 24 hours if possible. A day or two the most. But set up that lease signing, and we like to have it set in a setting. We prefer an office setting. It's good to do that. I don't agree with landlords who have the tenants come over to their home. I don't think that's a good idea. Try to have a professional location to do the lease signing. If you know a friend who's a real estate agent or a real estate broker, ask if you can stop in their office, even if you slip them $20 to do the lease signing at their office. Maybe they'll even feel good about presiding and making copies for you and stuff like that. I know a lot of friends who do that, who don't have their own office, and it works out very well, and it lends an air of professionalism to the landlord if they're using a professional office to have their lease signing in. Doing it at the property is a very last resort. I don't recommend that, because that's a place where tenants can come up with minor objections and negotiating points. And you don't want any negotiating going on at the lease signing if you can help it, because that's a sign that you don't have a deal yet. So you want to make sure that when they're approved, they understand what the deal is. And that's when we give them instructions, okay? We give them the instructions on what to bring and how to come prepared to the lease signing. After we've set that appointment, this, Mr. Tenant, is what you need to bring. you're going to need this amount of money, X amount of dollars, in cash, money order, or bank check, certified bank check. And we don't accept personal checks at the lease signing, because if possession is going to be given, all funds have to be cleared. But we also don't accept, even if possession is not being given yet, we don't accept personal checks at the lease signing. Do you know why? The real reason we don't accept personal checks at the lease signing is because we want to know that it's a done deal. And I tell people that too. I mean, if this is a done deal, we don't accept the personal checks. We don't want the option of someone being able to go home and have cold feet, or have something else come up, or go look at another property and have them change their mind. No option of canceling a check. We don't want that. Here's my little script. Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Tenant. I'm calling to inform you that we have completed our screening process for the rental of 123 Main Street. Congratulations, your application was approved. The tenant is usually responding with, oh, thank you so much. I could barely sleep all night thinking about your beautiful rental. I'm so excited. Isn't that nice? Okay, so you say, oh, that's great. I have some instructions for you about getting together to do a rental agreement. Do you have a pen and paper handy? Tenant, yes, I'm ready to write it down. You say, we'd like to make the appointment to do the rental agreement tomorrow evening. Like I said, as early as possible, at our office. Will you and your spouse, remember, you want them both to come if it's a couple. Don't do it with just one person. You want both legal signatures on that lease, and you don't want to have to repeat the lease. When you go through the lease agreement, you don't want to have to repeat your whole agreement to someone else again. Make sure they understand the whole thing together. That's the professional way to do it. Will you and your spouse be able to meet me tomorrow at 7 o'clock? Make whatever time you want, obviously. Yes, we can make it, the tenant says. Okay, so you say, we'll need you to bring the following items with you. A state ID or driver's license for each of you for our file. We always keep a copy of a picture ID in our file. And like I've said in previous times, and I may have told you on another Facebook Live, that you need to make sure the person sitting across from you signing the lease is the same person on the credit report. That's what all about tenant screening, and you want to make sure that you got the legitimate person there. But you want their ID, you want their driver's license, and as much information as you can have. Okay, Social Security cards. We usually get a copy of their Social Security card. The security deposit, X amount of money. Like I said, cash, money order, or bank check. First month's rent in the amount of whatever the rent is, and you give them the total amount. I usually tell them to bring separate checks for the rent and the security deposit, because the security deposit goes in a separate account from what the rent goes in. So it's a good idea to remember that. Tell them to make a separate check for the security deposit. Tenant, yes, we can do that. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. There's your instructions on how to approve a tenant. Well, I hope that was helpful, and thanks for joining me. I hope I didn't go on too long. See you soon, guys.